All right, May 10th, it's Friday. Took today and yesterday off to go through some of my equipment and get it ready to go. We're going to start plowing and disking here pretty soon. That hayfield we got to plow it all under, and we're going to reseed that. We're pretty far behind the 8-ball. Probably should have done all this a couple months ago. We just haven't had the time. But my disc is all set. I put a new disc on it. I had a broken one. Tightened some stuff up, greased it, so that is ready to go. And I pulled the planter over. We're gonna get going on this now. Put a new hydraulic cylinder on it, new hoses. Hoses I made were like a couple feet too short, so I went down to my buddy's farm there. His brother made me a extension whip for it going to the tractor, so we're all set on that now. The big thing I want to go through is to make sure, well, I got to space this out properly first off. I believe this was set up for, what the hell is that? Zoom in on that. I don't know what the hell that is. Bike? Anyway. So, the guy I bought this from, I believe he never used it, but I believe he said the guy he got it from was planting sweet corn with it, which makes sense because this is currently set up for 38-inch rows. So the head on the combine is it's a 443 John Deere, so it's set up for 30-inch rows. So we're gonna kick these in. Never done this before, so it's gonna be a little bit of trial and error. But from the looks of it, I hit all these with Blaster yesterday. I should probably do it again, but you just move the center point of each row unit to where you want them, basically. So going off the center of the machine, if I'm doing 30-inch rows, I'm going to go 15 inches off of this, because between that and that, 15, it's going to be 30 inches between these two row units. And then from center to this to center of that will be 30 inches as well. So to do that, I'm going to have to, like I said, I gotta loosen up those bolts there and those bolts there, and then that should just slide on that beam. The only thing I might run into trouble-wise is on this side here. This is gonna have to go in, obviously, if it's at 38 inches now, to get it down to 30. So that's gonna get scooted over, but I'm gonna have to move this beam here for the no-till bar. Not a big deal. Again, I can just probably take this right off and scooch it over, or down the beam, get that all set up. I should probably take this whole beam right off, I guess. No, I just take that bracket off, I guess. So, and then once I do that, then I gotta adjust the no-till openers here. And I was looking at how these work. They pivot here, so once you get going, I would imagine they kick off like that, and I don't know if that's how they're supposed to go. I have the owner's manual for it, so I should take a look and make sure. But because all the other like openers I've seen on other planters, I think they were just straight back like this, and then that's how they opened up the ground for the seat to drop in. So I'll look into that. I mean, maybe this is right. Maybe this just opens up better if it's coming in, cutting at an angle, I would imagine. Pretty much like like the disc on the Harrows, right? Other thing I got to do, and I should have done this a while ago because it was sitting in my pole barn next to my trucks. This jack is a little sketchy. It's only mounted 2 bolts right here on the side, and it's pulling away from the frame. So I think I'm gonna, take the jack off and see if I can bend this in and weld it or something. I'm out of gas from my big welder, so I might have to use the little one, because I don't know, since we moved here, I don't know where I get gas from. So, but we're gonna do that, and I'm probably gonna piecemeal all this together because I don't think anyone's gonna want to watch me loosen everything up and test it and blah blah blah. So, and what I want to figure out too is, I was looking at the markers, and so the only other planter I have a lot of experience with, or much experience with, I should say, is the International 56 planter that we have at the Escobars there that I used to help run. And that there, it had had a weird system set up where there was like a flap, and that flap would lock one arm up and allow the other one to drop. And then as you would lower the planter down and one arm would drop, and then you pick it up, it comes back up, and then the next time you drop it down, the other marker would go down, and it would alternate vice versa. This here, I was just trying it and it wasn't working. So I don't know if you have to like physically pull the rope here and unlock each side, whatever side you're using. There's not a ton of videos on these things, so I'm not totally sure. There's only a handful from what I've seen on YouTube, so I'm gonna have to do some digging on that. But that's a problem for later. Right now I gotta get these spaced out correctly. So I will get going on that and we'll talk to you in a bit. All right, so I was just looking at this. So I mapped out 15 inches off the center line of the beam there is right here at this Sharpie mark. So roughly, I'm gonna just kind of, the center of the grain tank there, the seed tank, is just gonna have to get kicked over that a little bit and tighten it all up. But then 30 inches off the center of that one to the center of this one is going to bring this row unit to the point where it's going to hit the side of the frame for the wheels, which means the wheels have to get kicked over as well. Which it looks like it might have been at one point because it's the rust mark right there. But to do that, you look at that shaft, it's got all different holes for different settings. So I'm going to have to pull that bolt out right there on that gear cog, and then undo the bolts down here, and then this whole unit's going to have to slide somewhere in the middle, wherever that ends up between these two tanks here. So that's a little more work than I was hoping I'd have to do, but it is what it is. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is move the two inner ones over, because that's going to be the least amount of work, and then I'll have a good starting point to go off of for both sides. Had I known I was going to do that, I pressure washed this thing off yesterday. I would have cleaned it up a little more so there's no mud in the holes there, that shaft, but it is what it is. So I'll get going on that and we'll see where we end up. All right, got the first one done. Took the seed tank off. So like I said, 15 inches over, marked it on the beam, and then marked the center out on the road unit here, and so they're pretty much lined up right. It was kind of hard getting it to move. It was pretty well rusted in there, but did get it to move. You can see where it was sitting before. So I'm gonna do this side here now. Once we get that done, I'll kick the wheels in as well, and then we'll get the outside. So I didn't realize on the last one, but I've been fighting this for the last half an hour, 40 minutes. This little carrier bearing right here sits on that shaft, the drive shaft for the row unit, and mounts to the frame right here, 2 bolts. That little bearing there is seized on the shaft. I just heated the hell out of it, hit it with a hammer, blah, blah, blah. Can't get it to move, and that's kind of what's holding me up right now. I think that's what was fighting me on this one here. It did move eventually, but this one here is not going for it. So I don't know if my best option is to just cut it off and then be done with it. I mean, it's there for a reason. And then to get a new one, you got to pull the whole shaft out, which probably isn't a huge deal. I think you just back that set screw off. All the sprocket's got to come out, obviously, and then it's going to slide out over there. You're probably going to pull the marker arm off, and then it'll slide out right there. But I'm going to heat it up again, and we'll see if we can get it to move on that shaft. It's definitely fighting me, though. So we'll see what happens. So, heated it up a second time, got it good and cherry, and it did move. Couple taps on the sprocket there, I was able to get it to kick over. Once that was over, the whole thing moved pretty freely, so that's definitely what I was fighting with. And I'm probably gonna be fighting the same thing on the other 2 row units, but we're making headway. Once I get this all tightened down where it's got to be, we're gonna probably jack it up and kick this over here over a little bit, I'm probably going to mark out 30 inches between this unit and that unit, and then wherever the center line is between those two, 15 inches off of this, I'll mount that way there it's all nice and even. Do the same thing on this one, obviously. All right, so I was recording some stuff and deleted it all by accident. So I'll start over. This is a couple days later. I got that row unit kicked over. I had to move the wheel over as well. The wheel was over here. I just kicked that off to the side. I'm going to center that with the 2 row units once I have this one here all set. The bearings here, well, so this bearing here is what's been fighting me. It's seized up on that drive shaft, and this one here I couldn't get to move at all. I ended up, it's not even really a bearing, it's just kind of like a collar that these kind of ride against to keep this drive shaft from bouncing around. But I couldn't get that to move at all. I heated the hell out of it like I did that last one. Didn't move. I went to take the 4-inch grinder and cut a slit in it to kind of take some of the pressure off, and then gave it a little tap and it split in half. The other piece is right here. So I'm gonna see if I can get a new one. Hopefully they're still available. If not, there's not a lot of pressure on that. I might be able to put the 2 halves together and just have it ride like that. I don't know, we'll figure it out. What I had to do as well to get this all the way over, the no-till bar, the bracket for it was in the way. So I had to move it from right there to the outside here. I'm going to have to do the same thing on the other side. And then what I just did as well is I unhooked the bracket for the fertilizer box. I'm going to see if I can just slide this row unit over past this and then just bolt it back up, and then we should be all set with this side. Then I can tighten everything down, I can line that wheel up where it's got to go, tighten everything down. Probably gonna leave the boxes off, the seed boxes, and give this a good pressure wash, and then lube everything up. But we're making progress on it. All right, a couple days later. Really piecemealing this video together. I'm only working on this when I have, the time. I just pulled the bolt out of the drive shaft for this, for the wheel here, the drive unit. I have this row unit here loosened up. I got to pull these cotter pins out of here. I think when I go to put it all back together, I'm just going to get the right size bolts and throw some bolts in here so it's a little more permanent. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing that I did on that side. So that bracket right there is gonna have to go all the way to the outside of that beam to allow this to slide all the way forward, and the wheel to kick in as well. Once we get all that done, this has the no-till openers up front, so those are gonna have to get slid into position in front of the row units. And I was talking to my buddy who I'm doing the hay and the corn with, and we were gonna put fertilizer down after the fact. If I can I have all the parts for the fertilizer tanks and all that. It's all pulled apart inside. So maybe I'll get the fertilizer. There we go. So that's all pulled apart in there. Parts are all inside that one there. But maybe we'll get that going too, so we don't have to go follow behind it and throw fertilizer down. So we'll see, but we're gonna keep moving on this. See if we can get it finished up today. I'm supposed to be, well, it's kind of crappy out right now. I think they're getting rain down there in Rhode Island, so I don't know how much disc I'm gonna be able to do. But if we can beat the rain, I'll get down there. Hopefully we can finish the fields up a little later today. I'm planning on getting down there for noon because it was a little wet. We got a ton of rain yesterday. So let it dry out a little bit before I head down there. So we'll see how it goes. So here's where we're at. I got the tire assembly kicked over where it's got to be. The gap between this row unit and that
bracket right there matches that side, so this is where it's going to be. I got to tighten down. What really fought me was that gear. You can kind of see where I took the grinder to this. There was a burr right here and I couldn't get it over far enough. And of course, when this was all set up over here, I couldn't really get the grinder in there to get like the back side of that, so I had to, little file here, had to file it down by hand. So I was able to get that over once I did that. Took the bracket off for the no-till bar. I kicked that to the outside. Now I have the fertilizer hopper jacked up so I can get the row unit to kick out underneath it. Then we'll drop that back down, bolt together, finish kicking this in. I'm not sure how far we got to go, but I mean, this here, you know, there's holes in this drive shaft here, depending on what you have this set to. It's 28 and 30 inch rows right here. So this has to be right here. So I got about a foot to go to move it over. So slow process. You gotta, I've been hitting it back and forth, bouncing from here to here to get it to move over. The last one I did, I just took this completely apart and moved it over and then tried to bolt it back together, but then it actually took longer because trying to get this to sit right and then get the bolts to line to, you know, to start, it's you're better off just hitting it with a friggin' hammer. So it is going together though. There was something else I had to do to this too, and I can't remember what. Oh, the markers. I got to adjust the markers, so I got to look in the book and see how you're supposed to space those out for 30-inch rows. So, but we'll get to that point at some point. All right, so I just went ahead and moved all these in. Pretty much the same thing that I did on the back with the row units. I went, you know, the center marks right here on the bar, 15 inches over here, 15 inches over there, and then from there 30 inches out to there. So that all looks good. I might have to make a couple adjustments when I'm in the field, but for now we're all set. I'm gonna have to run out. I bought bolts to replace like these gear cogs right here. I bought bolts to replace the cotter pins I pulled out of there, and then like newer bolts to replace these two. But the bolts down here, they were a little bit too short, so they're actually not even bolts, they're machine screws, so I didn't know if I'd be able to get my socket on there, so I got just a Phillips head machine screw. So but I think I'm gonna end the video right here because all I really have left to do is adjust the markers, and I gotta replace the bearings in pretty much all the openers because they are they've all got play in them. I was trying to figure out how to get the openers off. I don't know. On the 56 International I'm used to running, these are all just bolts. Pop the cover off and the whole thing will come apart, but these are all riveted. Man, look at that thing, huh? 78, 79 F350. Still working her. But I don't know if I gotta pull this cap off, and I tried before. This was on there pretty damn tight, so I gotta figure out how to get these off. I got the manual, dig through it, but besides that, I gotta weld up the jack because that's all, it's a little sketchy every time you take it off a tractor. There's only 2 bolts holding the front there. It's aftermarket jack someone threw on there, so I'm gonna weld that to the frame so that's all nice and tight. But I think we're gonna end this here. I'm actually going out to buy seed today. Dairy farm up the road is a dealer, so run up there, get some seed, and then probably gonna wash this off too. This all still has like red clay on it from when I bought it, so I'll clean all this up, grease it. Once I get the seed, figure out what plates I got to run in it. When I bought this, I got a big box full of plates, so we'll get the right ones in the hoppers and we'll be good to go. So thanks for watching along. We'll catch you on the next one.